Is that full time? Is that full time? I think it is. There we have it. PSG beat Bayern, knocked them out 2-0 with 9 players at the end of the 90. I can't lie, the end of that game was kind of crazy. I thought this was actually a pretty good game, considering the unfortunate situation with Musiala. Obviously, heading into this, I think we knew that Bayern was kind of PSG's bogey team when it comes to, I guess, head-to-head fixtures, or past fixtures, I should say. I haven't watched too much of Bayern and PSG in the Club World Cup, I have to admit. But from what I've been reading and seeing, I've noticed that Bayern especially have been pretty good throughout the Club World Cup. And I think that heading into this game, I kind of figured, this is definitely worth watching. This is probably the biggest matchup of the Club World Cup so far. But yeah, honestly, I'm not going to lie, I thought Bayern actually played pretty well. I mean, I know they lost 2-0, but I think in the first half, you could tell that they frustrated PSG a lot in terms of possession. PSG really couldn't string together fluid play as they normally do, as we saw throughout the whole season. But you could see that the likes of like Kimmich and Pavlovic from Bayern kind of frustrated that a little bit. They couldn't really build out from the back. And Bayern had their chances. It's not like they didn't. They had their chances in the first half. They had their chances in the second half. But effectively, PSG just took their chances better. And they were just more clinical in front of goal. I thought this was like a very high quality game in terms of two teams who play very similar in terms of intensity, pressing, using their wide players, a kind of a midfield battle. But effectively, this game purely ended because one team simply just took their chances better than the other. Honestly, I don't really want to talk about the first half too much. I mean, Bayern had the better chances in the first half, I think. What I actually really liked about Bayern in that first half is that they won the ball in really good areas, but then when it came to the final third, they effectively either overcrossed the ball or just really couldn't find any sort of final piece to finish. And that's kind of, their story throughout this whole game, really. And yeah, obviously in that first half, we unfortunately saw Musiala pretty much dislocate. I don't really know what to call it, to be honest. I'm looking at the injury right now, and it is so hard to see. But we effectively just saw his ankle just completely rupture and dislocate, and it's terrible. And honestly, man, that is so sad for a player of that quality. Genuinely, one of my favorite players to watch, at least on the ball. He is so good, and honestly, this just shows these players are just getting overworked at this point. To play 70 to 80 games, high quality games by the way, across a whole calendar year is a bit mental. And obviously there's a lot of criticism coming into this tournament saying, is this tournament really needed? Is it something that's needed for the clubs, considering that the actual proper season starts in about 4 weeks, beginning or mid-August, depending on the leagues. But taking a look at an injury like that for a player of that quality, he's probably going to be out for pretty much the whole season, I think, before the season even begins, is crazy. I honestly hope he's back for the World Cup because, man, he's going to be such a big loss for Bayern, and he's definitely going to be a big loss to Germany if he can't be fit in time for the World Cup next summer. But that is so sad, man. I honestly wish Jamal a speedy recovery. This week in football, man, it's been so bad. Hopefully good things are coming. Besides that, though, I thought that the second half was a lot more entertaining. I thought that Doué took his goal very well. I think we all saw in that second half that PSG kind of utilized their midfield way better. They started to expose Bayern, at least from a defensive point of view, by winning the ball in high areas. You saw, at least for Doué's goal, Bayern tried to counter. Kane was too slow. John Neves did brilliantly to win the ball back. And then eventually Doué took his chance very well. Slotted it near post, caught Neuer out. And yeah, honestly, there were many other opportunities too that PSG had to score as well. We saw the Neuer mistake. Dembele should have done better there, considering it was an open goal. When PSG went down to 10 men and they were practically just, I guess, sitting back for the last 10 minutes or so, I thought, okay, this is Bayern's chance to throw everything at it, get the equalizer. I thought that Coman and Olise actually had a pretty good game. I thought that they gave Hakimi and Nuno Mendes some problems on the sides, but unfortunately they just weren't clinical in that final third, which is surprising because considering they have one of the most prolific goal scorers in the world up top, they just couldn't find him. And I thought that they couldn't really involve some of the big players like that in the game as much. And Dembele comes on, obviously, for Doué just after he scores and takes his goal very well. I do think that you could tell that Bayern got a little bit sloppy and tired. I'm looking at the goal right now. Hakimi does so well to keep the play alive, lays it off to Dembele, whacks it far post. Great finish. And he obviously does the Jota celebration as commemoration. So respect Dembele for that. And I think that, I don't know, this game kind of showed that PSG are definitely beatable. They're definitely beatable. If Bayern, on another day, Bayern probably scores like maybe 2 or 3 this game. They had their opportunities. They did. It shows that they're beatable. But unfortunately, this PSG side, at least they have the quality to kind of just make something out of nothing, you know? We saw in many moments in the first and second half where they were very frustrated. They couldn't really get out of their half too much. Bayern really utilized their pressure so much to the point where they, you know, PSG really couldn't string passes together. But I think that when it comes down to quality, when it comes down to effectiveness in the final third, that's where PSG kind of killed Bayern off today, at least. Yeah, so PSG are now through to the semi-finals of the Club World Cup, where they'll face either Dortmund or Real, which is about to start in about an hour and a half. I didn't expect myself to actually make a video on this today. I just thought that it was a bit of a crazy ending considering what happened throughout the whole game. I thought it was a very high quality football match, so I thought I might as well just do a reaction on it. To be honest, I'm not really taking this Club World Cup too seriously in terms of like what it means for a team for the rest of the season, because there's still the preseason phase to go and there's still, you know, the entire actual season. And we know that clubs change like PSG did last year. At least they looked so kind of stagnated throughout the whole first half of the season, and then they really kicked off towards the end of the season where they won the Champions League. So hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Bit of a short one today, but I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.